now that 2023 is coming to an end, and obviously this year we saw a lot of great fights. We saw obviously Inui fight Fulton, become double undisputed this year. Obviously we saw the likes of Wilder versus Parker. We saw so many great fights. We saw Lomachenko versus Haney. We saw Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Davis. We obviously saw the great fight that we was all waiting for, Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence. We also saw great fights in the UFC and MMA in general. We saw several great fights in MMA. We saw John Jones come back, reclaim the heavyweight division by beating Cyril Gane. We saw Francis Ngannou fight Tyson Fury and give almost the upset of the year. We saw so many great fights, but obviously we have to look forward to the future. And 2024 is about to start, and there's three fights from both MMA and boxing that I really want to see. So one of the fights from boxing that I really want to see is after BIVOL gave such a great performance in the Saudi card last weekend. I'd love to see BIVOL versus BERTIBERVE. He's actually spoken in post-fight interviews that he wants to fight BERTIBERVE. And now that he's got the IBO and WBA title, and I think he's made like 11 defenses of the WBA title. And obviously we know that BERTIBERVE has got the WBC and IBF title, and he's got a fight against Callum Smith this January. I know Eddie Hearn has been saying like a BS about, oh man, hopefully we'll see Callum Smith versus BIVOL. We don't want to see that. What we want to see is BERTIBERVE versus BIVOL. And I think that's an incredible fight. Both of them are from Russia. Both of them are from Eastern Europe. Both of them have got different styles. You got BIVOL with his hand speed combinations, great jab, great movement. And you got BERTIBERVE with his concussive punching power, his relentlessness. But the fact is, we know BIVOL is a lot younger, while BERTIBERVE is getting up there in age. And the fact that BERTIBERVE has had very tough fights, has had a long career. We saw how difficult his fight was with Yard. We saw him get rocked by Callum Johnson, but we've got BIVOL here, who got rocked in his last fight against Lyndon Arthur. Lyndon Arthur hurt him with a body shot. So that's one fight that I want to see, BIVOL versus BERTIBERVE. Another fight that I want to see is finally we can get the undisputed heavyweight fight between USYK versus Tyson Fury, and that's already been penned in. So that looks like it's going to happen, I think, March next year. Hopefully we can see USYK versus Tyson Fury. We can finally find out who's the undisputed heavyweight king. We can finally get an undisputed heavyweight king since Lennox Lewis. We never got round to that. We never got to see that. We never got to find out who is the undisputed for a very, very, very long time. It happened many times. They could have made when AJ had all of the belts and Wilder had the WBC belt, they could have made it happen. But for some reason, because of egos, whatever the reason was, that fight never happened. Hopefully we can get the undisputed fight, and we can finally crown a king for the heavyweight division. We can finally find out who it's going to be between USYK and Tyson Fury. In my opinion, USYK wins the fight because Tyson Fury looked terrible against Francis Ngannou in his last fight. But then again, Tyson Fury, maybe that's lit a fire under his ass and it made him say, listen, I need to start taking this boxing shit seriously because I'm going to go in there against the real one when I fight USYK in my next fight. So hopefully we can find out who's the undisputed heavyweight king and find out who's the undisputed king of boxing, because whoever the heavyweight king is, whoever rules the heavyweight division rules boxing. I mean, no one in the lower weight classes could fuck with them because they're the best in the biggest weight classes, in the biggest weight class in boxing. So hopefully we can get that right. One other fight that I want to see is, and this is within MMA. Obviously we saw a great performance from SHAVKAT. He beat Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. We saw KHAMZAT beat Usman. And obviously, both of them are faded, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Usman. But a great fight would be SHAVKAT versus KHAMZAT. SHAVKAT versus KHAMZAT. Both of them are obviously KHAMZAT's got a bigger name. KHAMZAT's got a bigger profile. KHAMZAT is seen as the second coming of Khabib Nurmagomedov. But SHAVKAT has looked phenomenal. Not one fighter that SHAVKAT has fought has gone the distance. Everyone has either been submitted by him or knocked out by him. So I would love to see SHAVKAT fight KHAMZAT. And finally, I want to see someone become undisputed in the UFC heavyweight division. I want to see a fight between John Jones and Stipe Miocic. I'm not going to even try pronouncing his second name. I'm just going to say Stipe. So I'm going to see. I want to see John Jones versus Stipe. Stipe is seen long term consensus as the greatest heavyweight fighter in the UFC ever, so, because of his 3 title defenses. And John Jones is seen as the greatest fighter that's ever existed in the UFC and in MMA history. So to see both of them fight each other will be incredible. And so that's my wish list for 2024. That's the 4 fights that I want to see. Just to run it off again, I want to see BERTIBERVE versus BIVOL, and hopefully with the Saudi money that fight can happen. Right, it's not been penned in, but if BERTIBERVE can get past Callum Smith, and I'm hoping that he does, I don't want there to be an upset. I just want to see BERTIBERVE and BIVOL get it on. We can hopefully see that mid-year to 2024, maybe even later that year, 2024. If the Saudis can get their money up and they can give them an offer, make both of them make 10, 20 million each. I think that's a fight that should be a 50-50 because both of them have accomplished a lot within their weight class. If they then both can fight each other, that would be incredible. Another great fight could be, and this has been penned in by the Saudi money as well, USYK versus Fury. If them two can fight each other, that would be even better. Obviously, we can finally get an undisputed king in the heavyweight division. For the longest time since Lennox Lewis, we've not had an undisputed king. So to finally see someone crowned as the heavyweight king would be surreal to see. In MMA circles, in the UFC in particular, we could get SHAVKAT versus KHAMZAT. That will be an incredible fight. Both of them are coming up. They're both in similar weight classes. They've both got a similar size. They've both got similar hype around them. So to see both of them fight each other, and obviously, SHAVKAT looks incredible. But one thing that needs to be said is, as good as SHAVKAT looks, he's not beating the level of opposition that KHAMZAT has. KHAMZAT's beaten a far better level of opposition. He's got a far better resume. He beat Gilbert Burns, even though Gilbert Burns gave him hell. Gilbert Burns is a top welterweight. And obviously he's beaten Usman, who for the longest time was seen as the second greatest welterweight ever, just after GSP. So for them two to fight each other, it'll be a great fight, and I hope that can happen soon. I would love to see it, see both of them fight each other. And obviously, finally, we can find out who's the greatest heavyweight. If we can see John Jones fight Stipe. Stipe is seen as the greatest heavyweight in the UFC's heavyweight division, and John Jones is seen as the greatest fighter ever in UFC history. So for both of them to fight each other will be an incredible fight. So yeah, that's my opinion. That's my wish list. That's what I want to see. Tell me what you want to see. What would you like to see? What fights would you like to see happening in 2024? 2023 was a great year, both for boxing and MMA, but I'm hoping 2024 can deliver as well, and hopefully we can get better fights in 2024 than we did in 2023, which seems almost impossible because 2023 was a great year for boxing and MMA. But tell me what you think below. What would you like to see? What do you think about the fights that I've just mentioned? Do you think they're interesting fights, or do you think they're terrible fights? Who do you think wins each of them? I've not even given a prediction on who I think wins the fight, apart from USYK versus Fury. I think USYK beats him just because based on the way Fury looked in his last fight. But the rest of them are like pick and fights. SHAVKAT versus KHAMZAT. As much as I like SHAVKAT more than KHAMZAT, I can't deny it. KHAMZAT's got a better resume, and he could potentially beat SHAVKAT. Obviously, BERTIBERVE versus BIVOL, that's a pick and fight. I lean more towards BIVOL because BERTIBERVE is older, but BERTIBERVE is an absolute monster. Obviously, we got John Jones versus Stipe. I lean more towards John Jones because John Jones seems like he's fresher, but Stipe is seen as the heavyweight GOAT, heavyweight ATG. So for them to fight each other, we could find out who's the best. So tell me what you think below. Who do you think wins these fights? And is these the fights that you're looking forward to next year? And hopefully we can get something going. Tell me what you think, and like and subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more content coming your way. Peace.